Hey, this is Ryan of Happy, Healthy, Vegan, and a big shout out to my moderator, Peter. Thanks once again for sending me another video to check out. You sent me those 4 consecutive Daily Mail misinformation videos, and Peter always keeps his eye out for these Why I'm No Longer Vegan videos. So I went to go check this one out by a content creator I've never heard of, Nicole Rafiee. I hope I got your name right there, Nicole. However, after watching her pretty long video, it occurred to me that this response video of mine is going to be completely different than any other Why I'm No Longer Vegan person I've responded to before, because as far as I can tell, she's still vegan, and she says so in her own words, but a lot of her viewers disagree, as we'll get to in a moment. But anyway, I think Nicole makes a few really good points, so we'll get to those in a second. You know, things I've talked about, some problems I've had with vegans, and especially online influencer vegans too. And also, though, Nicole, I think, raises a few points that I find kind of, I'm not so sure about, and we'll talk about those, though. So this is my honest response to her video. And if you're watching, Nicole, don't worry. I'm not here to rip you apart or anything like that. For the most part, I think your video was pretty good. So anyway, let's jump in.
When someone would stop being vegan in the community, people would have to make videos being like, this is why I'm no longer a vegan. And then these vegan pages would sometimes make videos about them and like criticize them and pick apart and being like, you didn't try hard enough, you didn't do this. And these are all the examples of it. Just is such an unwelcoming space.
All right, so full disclosure, many of our longtime viewers should know that I've made my share of response videos to these Why I'm No Longer Vegan videos, but I'm not doing it, hopefully, I don't think I am. You guys could tell me down in the comments. I'm not doing it in this toxic, shameful way, calling people, hey, you're a bad person because you're no longer vegan. I've always said, if a person doesn't want to be vegan anymore, that's fine. That's their choice. We live in a free country. Just don't throw veganism under the bus on the way out. So when I watch these Why I'm No Longer Vegan videos, I'm looking for 2 things. One, I'm trying to figure out if they were ever vegan in the first place, because you'd be surprised how many people were never vegan in the first place. But secondly, the most important thing I'm looking for is to see if there was some absolute and compelling reason why that person had to stop eating a diet of all plants. I still have yet to find that condition satisfied by any person making Why I'm a No Longer Vegan video. Anyway, let's continue on.
The thing that I've learned about how people respond to veganism and also food choices in general is with empathy and like bringing people in rather than pushing people away. I think about that way a lot of things, like even politically. The older that I get is more so like my intention and goal is to bring people in and educate them rather than push them away and alienate them.
All right, so if I understand Nicole correctly here, and I think I do, she's talking about something that I've talked about many times, particularly on my live streams, about how I want an interaction between me when I'm being a vegan activist and a non-vegan to go down. Well, let's contrast that with how she's describing their more toxic interaction. I'm not going to name any names. You can imagine whoever you want. You probably know some people like this. You probably follow a few on YouTube maybe, but some vegans find it their best, they think the best way of being a vegan activist is to make their person that they're talking to be an opponent and try whatever they can to make that person feel bad, call them a bad person, just say all these things to make them feel like they're a rotten human for not being vegan. So how do you think that person's going to feel after that interaction with the vegan activist? Are they going to say, I'm going to go vegan? No, they're going to hate everything about veganism, and they're going to make it a lifelong goal to never be vegan. I find that a very non-functional or just a not good way to be a vegan activist. It doesn't get the job accomplished if you want to have someone become a vegan, or at least leave the conversation with a positive attitude about veganism. That's my whole goal. I want my interactions with non-vegans to be positive. I try to have an open dialogue. I'm not attacking them, not calling them bad things. I want them to leave their interaction like, well, I learned a few things I never thought about. I want to plant a seed there that will sprout later into them maybe becoming vegan.
You're a bad person because you're not eating exactly the way that I want you to eat, and it just alienates people. And no one receives that well, you know what I mean?
Yes, I know very well what you mean, and I completely agree with you here.
Anyway, I did not receive it well when I made a video talking about my problem with vegans, and mainly it's just a criticism of how exclusionary some vegans can be, I just remember that feeling that I got getting those comments of being like, you're not a vegan because of your choices.
Yeah, once again, I completely agree with Nicole here. I've encountered these level 5,000 toxic vegan a-holes. I think all these people just went vegan as some kind of excuse so they could be assholes to people. But yeah, I've had people accuse me of not being vegan because of some bizarro reason.
And I always stuck to my ethics, but I think a lot of what was driving it as well was feeling like a bad person or guilty if I ever slipped up and if I ever ate something that maybe was not vegan. Because if I ever did eat something that was not vegan, even by accident, even if I was given something at a restaurant and it was not vegan, which has happened before, I would feel like a terrible person. Like I felt like a major fault on my part and I felt like contaminated all.
No, that's not your fault, Nicole. I mean, this is something that all us vegans have to deal with when we go out and eat at a restaurant that's not vegan. Yeah, occasionally a waiter might make a mistake and that sucks, but it's not your fault. I didn't show the part where Nicole talked about how she has struggled with OCD her whole life, so I could see how something like that could really mess with your head. That last word she mentioned there is feeling contaminated. I could see how that would be a struggle if you have OCD, but I want to give her kudos for not using her OCD as an excuse or a reason why she had to no longer be vegan, because she's still vegan. All right, so now she starts her discussion about her thoughts and beliefs and attitudes towards real leather, her wearing leather. And here's where I finally start disagreeing with some of what she says. Some of it's just personal disagreement, and I'll try to make the distinction between that and where I think there's just some factual errors in her explanation. But anyway, let's jump right into this part.
Like I said in my video, I talked about how I will still wear secondhand leather. And when I go thrifting, I will shop secondhand leather, suede, leather boots, leather jackets.
So here's where I have a big personal disagreement with Nicole. I don't think anything she said there was factually wrong, but I personally disagree with the belief that it's perfectly fine to wear animal products on us, because if you do so as a vegan or any non-vegan for that matter, you're given you're showing that it's okay. You're normalizing. You're showing it's totally fine to use animals as products. You're saying, hey, this fur on me, it's totally cool. The practice of harvesting animal fur is a perfectly fine practice, and that's the last impression I would want to give off. But Nicole approaches this issue from a different perspective, more from an environmental perspective.
It is much, much better for the environment than it is to be buying faux leather products.
Well, that was stated with such confidence and certainty. I'd like to see if she brings any other evidence to support that strong claim.
It's like, that's plastic. That is plastic. As much as I don't love the byproduct of an animal being used as clothing, it's a lot more sustainable, lasts longer, and if you were to ever discard of that item, because eventually maybe it will not serve you anymore, you can't wear it anymore for whatever reason, at the landfill, we will not have plastic. That vegan leather jacket or vegan leather shoe is gonna last on the planet hundreds of more years than that leather jacket, that real leather jacket or real leather shoe.
All right, a couple things I'd like to say about veganism and environmentalism, because they're often conflated. Not to say she's doing that here, but they're not one and the same thing. Yes, indeed, there are some environmental benefits, great ones for if more people were to follow vegan diets. But if you look at the definition of veganism, that's not what it is. It's clearly about animals. It's a stance against animal cruelty and exploitation.
And people who are already making a conscious effort by trying to shop secondhand, which is already so amazing for the environment, than buying from a store directly firsthand. So it frustrates me even now, years later. I made that video like 5 years ago, of being told like, you are not a vegan because you wear leather. And I went from wearing secondhand leather, hey, I'll even wear firsthand leather now, because now sometimes the shoes that I buy will intentionally be leather so that I know they will last me for years and years and years, rather than me buying, once again, plastic shoes that are going to rip apart within months.
So I'm not seeing any evidence for her claim that the vegan leather products are inferior, don't last as long, just some anecdotal stories. And I can give you my own personal anecdotal stories. It wasn't that long ago. I owned 2 Mercedes-Benz diesels from the 1980s. One had actual leather and the other had a fake leather called MB Tex. And the one with the fake leather, MB Tex, these both cars are both made in the early 80s. The one with the MB Tex, the fake leather, that fake leather looked brand new. It looked like when I got the car in like 2009, it looked like it was just fresh out of the factory from 1982. On the other hand, the real leather in the other car, that one was made in 1983, 1 year later, but the difference was not just 1 year in wear. That leather was beat. It was thrashed. It did not look factory fresh by any stretch. So anecdotal stories are not the end of it all here. There's actually been studies done to see how well vegan leather fares as far as durability, sustainability, and environmental impacts compared to cow leather. A 2022 life cycle assessment of Modern Meadows BioLeather 1 in the Journal of Renewable Materials compares it directly with conventional cow leather and PU synthetic leather. It finds BioLeather 1 cuts greenhouse gas emissions by about 80% versus bovine leather and about 21% versus PU leather, while also substantially reducing non-renewable energy use and water land impacts. And there's more studies I can show. I don't want to bore you, but there's plenty of studies that show that the production of bovine leather is way more environmentally bad than producing plastic vegan leather. And it doesn't even have to be plastic. You can make it out of like hemp and mushrooms. But how about the durability factor? Because Nicole was saying that was her primary reason for choosing animal leather versus vegan leather. Well, there's an actual durability study on faux leather fabrics that found that PU-coated faux leather was durable and abrasion resistant under standardized lab tests with good performance against flexing and rubbing. So it's simply false to say that all vegan leather just falls apart.
And I think it's a crazy concept to being like, you are not a good person for wearing leather. I don't have respect for you for wearing leather or for wearing fur. If that is something that you already own, and people who are already making a conscious effort by trying to shop secondhand, which is already so amazing for the environment, than buying from a store directly firsthand.
Well, Nicole, I invite you to reconsider your firm position about vegan leathers, given there's actual science that says not all vegan leathers are the same. They can be durable and last a long time. They're not all the same. In fact, check out this article from Oliver Company's website. They make vegan faux leather products in England, and they address that common perception you had that vegan leather is often mistakenly considered less durable than real leather. However, this is not always the case, and not all materials are made equally. A cheap leather will almost certainly degrade quicker than a high-quality PU vegan leather. The question comes down to quality and whether the material chosen is fit for purpose. But anyway, Cole, if you don't want to wear the vegan leather and you keep buying the animal product leather or getting it secondhand, I'm not going to make a video calling you out and saying you're a bad person or anything like that. It's never been my tactic here on Happy Healthy Vegan. There's way bigger problems in the world to try to nitpick about every person who's vegan and nitpick them for not doing it the exact same way that I'm doing it, because I got it all figured out because I'm the smartest person in the world. Sarcasm. So anyway, I asked you guys to be kind in the comments here in case Nicole comes and checks out our video. I don't want her to have that impression get reinforced that, oh, vegans are all bad people. They're just wanting to point out all your flaws and say you're a bad person, whatever. Because I'm not calling her a bad person or anything like that. So hopefully you guys are not as well. Like I said, she got a lot of points right. I think she was totally spot on calling out the toxicness in a lot of vegan influencers, or just a lot of vegans in general. My whole strategy, just stay away from people like that. They're a-holes. It doesn't matter that they were vegan. They'd be non-vegan a-holes. They're just first and foremost a-holes. And it's unfortunate that some of them found their way into the vegan world. So everyone, do all the nice stuff. Like, share, notification bell, comment, all that stuff. And please come to my flagship Friday live streams every Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Come and chill out and hang out with a bunch of nice, civil, non-toxic, friendly vegans that I sincerely enjoy being around every week. So I'll see you guys then. Remember, doesn't suck being vegan.